Aries, welcome to your weekly reading. Let's get started, my friends, and see what messages we have for Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising positions for the week ahead. Keeping in mind that these are general readings and may not resonate for everyone. So have a look at your other placements to see if you have messages there. And if you're interested in a personal reading, have a look at the description below because I am offering a promotion for the rest of May. And if you've been wanting a reading, it's a good time to get one. All right, my friends, let's get started for Aries. What is the current energy around Aries for the week ahead? Seeing the Lover's card coming out in the reversed position. So right away, that tells me that there could be a choice that you're trying to make or a decision that you're trying to make, and finding it challenging to sort of make that decision in alignment with your highest good or your highest authentic self. Really trying to stay authentic in your choices and finding maybe that is causing a bit of a challenge. Let's see what's causing the challenge. What is causing the challenge here for Aries? This could be in a relationship, or it could be that you're having a difficult time maybe seeing the finish line here. I say it could be a relationship because it's the Lover's card, but really the Lover's card is about choice. It is a choice card. It's sort of like being at a crossroads. And when it's in the reverse, we can tell that it's challenging to proceed for some reason. There is a challenge to proceed ahead. And it feels to me like seeing the Four of Wands as the obstacle makes me feel like the challenge comes because you may be focusing on the outcome and not so much on the journey. You may be focusing on, well, how is it going to turn out, as opposed to, do I feel connected with this direction in the first place? And if you're not feeling connected to the direction, you might be feeling sort of attached to a certain outcome that you're not certain about here. And so it's very interesting to see the Four of Wands as sort of crossing that Lover's card. If it's a relationship decision that you're trying to make, you could be sort of feeling the obstacle in that you're not sure that this relationship has what it takes to keep going into the future, into the long run, right? You might sort of be doubting the longevity of this relationship and thinking to yourself, does this really have what it takes to keep going forward? And maybe coming up with the answer of, I'm not sure, or I don't know if it has what it takes to keep going. And there may be some kind of lack of harmony or communication that is sort of contributing to the imbalanced outcome here, or the imbalanced nature of what's going on. And it's interesting to see the Four of Wands there as the obstacle, because it kind of makes me feel like you don't feel like it has enough complementary energy to keep moving forward, whatever the case may be, a relationship or a directional decision you're making about anything in your life. Bottom of the deck, I'm seeing the Ace of Wands, which makes me feel like it's important to go after where you feel that energy, where you feel the sort of the most opportunity for yourself, or the most connection to yourself. The Ace of Wands always makes me feel like you're grabbing onto some new potential that you feel has a lot of connection and complementary energy with yourself. Let's see here, what's top of mind for Aries on this situation? What are you focused on? Okay, Nine of Wands is the focus. So that tells me that you may be feeling a bit burnt out. You may be feeling like things are sort of piling up around you and it's time to make a decision about something. And you're almost at the end at the Nine, right? This is sort of that card that says this is your final push to get to the outcome and to maybe cross that finish line, and to sort of have a look at what you've been focusing your energy around for the last sort of period, to see if it really suits you anymore or not. Does this still serve you? Seems to be the question on your mind. Or are you just sort of spinning your wheels and feeling burnt out and maybe needing to shift direction? Let's see what's at the root of this. What's at the root of this for Aries? The Devil. Interesting. So you could be really at sort of feeling like You know, when I see the devil driving a reading, it always makes me say, what's really going on here? Like, what's really, really bubbling up to the surface here? Are you feeling bound to something that may be bringing something to the surface for you to have a look at? You know, are you relying on some vices that you may need to break free from in order to become in alignment so that you can make a choice that feels complementary to you? You know, it's interesting. Seeing the devil there makes me think that there could be something in your current energy that's trying to come to the surface for you to have a look at your motivations, your intentions, and whether or not you're sort of in the grips of something that's got a hold on you, and you might need to break free from it. So, you know, looking at this, there could be some internal lack of balance that you're sort of tapping into some kind of vice or an addiction or a pattern of behavior that you slip into when you feel out of balance, when you feel burnt out, as opposed to sort of addressing what's really at the heart of the matter here. It's very interesting. It feels like there could be some procrastination. There could be some unfocused energy when I see the Knight of Pentacles on the bottom of the deck. So, you know, you may have some patterns of behavior to look at. You may have something here that's coming to the surface for you to address and see how you can bring things back into balance, back into a more optimum place. Let's see here. What's the past influences? Past influences, we're seeing the Ace of Cups and the Eight of Cups in reverse. So in the past, there may have been something that got started and you had a hard time letting it go. And it could still be having an effect on you here when I see the devil. And, you know, all these cups and all these emotions makes me, and the Lover's card kind of makes me feel like we're looking at a relationship here. For some of you, we could be looking at a past relationship that when it started had so much potential, and then it was really hard to walk away from it once you realized that it wasn't serving you anymore. And you may still be in the grips of this now, looking at the devil, looking at that Lover's card, the Nine of Wands, excuse me, showing me that you're burnt out and that you may feel like this relationship doesn't, or this experience, if it's not a relationship, that doesn't have the longevity or the the sort of complementary energy to continue into the future. You may be feeling like the foundation isn't there, that there's something about it that you sort of need to leave behind when I see that Eight of Cups. And when it's in reverse, it shows me that that's been difficult for you to let go of. And it might still be affecting you in the present moment right now. Let's see what the upcoming energy is, upcoming influences. Knight of Swords and Queen of Rods in reverse. Okay, very interesting, because that tells me, Aries, that there is change coming. There is a change coming, and you might not be necessarily willing to change at this time. You might be feeling like, well, I'm not ready. You know, I'm not ready to let this go. And I think that's why we're seeing the devil here, because you're hanging on to something that I think is trying to reveal to you that it's not going to have what it takes to move forward. And you've seen that in the past, you've seen that now, and we're sort of seeing it come through in the future energy as well. Now, the Queen of Wands there in reverse could be your energy, Aries. It could be your energy because it is Aries energy, the Queen of Wands. But it could also be that there's sort of something going on here that involves another person. There could be another person that you discover sort of having a role in this, almost like a third party. If it's your energy, then it almost feels like you've turned your outward expression into a place that's a little bit resentful or even angry, or feeling like you have to sort of defend yourself against something. You might be feeling like you're too afraid to take the risk or be honest with yourself about what, you know, is really going on here. And it might be really hard for you to be honest with yourself to say, this is no longer serving me. And so not being totally honest with yourself, or this idea that your self-confidence takes a hit because of something that you've known for a while isn't necessarily serving you, and yet you're sort of continually being involved in it still. And again, it could be a relationship, or it could be an experience that's just, gone on for too long. And it feels like in the past you already sort of thought, oh boy, I think I need to walk away from this. And you may not have, right? And so sort of needing to trust yourself that sometimes these things will end up shifting because it's just not an energetic match anymore. And that's sort of this Knight of Swords giving me that feeling. Okay, let's see. How does Aries feel about themselves at this time? Okay, Star card in reverse. Yeah. So you're having a hard time having faith in yourself. You're having a difficult time rebuilding after this sort of situation has revealed itself to no longer be fulfilling to you, or, being in alignment with your highest good. It's been difficult to imagine rebuilding after this, or continuing along a path after this has, come to an end. And it feels like it's sort of headed that way. Like there is an experience that no longer serves you, and it's coming to the surface into your awareness through your external reality to show you that, to reflect back to you that this doesn't serve you to be involved in anymore. And, it may be difficult for you to accept that. Seeing the Star card in reverse makes me feel like you're losing faith in yourself. You're losing your belief that you will be able to overcome this. And yet it feels like it's all coming to the surface because you can overcome it. And that's why it's actually coming up. Let's see, how do other people see you? Yeah. So Aries, other people are seeing you as the King of Cups in reverse, which has this quality of being caught up in a drama. When I see the King of Cups in reverse, it makes me feel like there's someone in your life, or in this case, it's how you're showing up externally, that's caught up in a lot of emotional drama, and it doesn't serve them to be in this situation, which we're seeing quite confirmed, all over the place here in your reading. So it's interesting because it feels like other people recognize, wow, this situation doesn't really serve Aries the way that it is, and it's not in alignment with what's, what they deserve or what they put out. It feels like it's out of alignment. And it's funny, as I say that, the cards are sort of leaning in a diagonal, and I'm trying to adjust them and having a difficult time. There we go. And so just as I'm trying to adjust the cards, you might have to make some adjustments in terms of this situation because it doesn't feel like it serves you anymore. And maybe just a few tweaks, and you'll notice that yourself, right? Just by bringing a few things into balance, you'll start to see that we need to let the Wheel of Fortune turn and to try to not control how it moves, because it's moving in a direction right now that almost, it feels like, to set you free from something, to show you that it doesn't serve you to hang on to this, and that you don't need to be caught up in the emotional drama. You can sort of allow yourself to maybe move away from this situation and get a little perspective, and to see how things could be different from that perspective. Sometimes we're just standing too close, Let's see here. What are the hopes and fears around this situation? Queen of Swords. So the Queen of Swords coming through in the reverse as kind of giving us what you're hoping for and what is causing some hesitation or fear for you right now. And that Queen of Swords, when she shows up in reverse, it can signal that communication is strained, that there's a difficulty here in sort of communicating how we feel without losing control, and sort of lashing out. I feel like this has gotten to that place, and it's getting there even in the future energy with the Queen of Wands in reverse, where you might be emotionally a bit explosive and then say things that you regret because you're frustrated, right? You're kind of burnt out of this situation or this relationship, and you might be finding that it's hard to communicate without lashing out or being too sharp or aloof. And it's interesting because it feels like speaking from your place of wisdom is necessary. And I know that that might be challenging right now because you are kind of caught up in this emotional circus, and it feels really overwhelming because it's overwhelming energy here in the Nine of Wands is burning you out. And seeing that it started in the past tells me this has maybe been going on for some time. And so you've gotten to the point now where you can't really talk about it without explosive emotion being expressed. And it's almost like you sort of need to have a look at this from a more logic-based perspective, because emotionally it's too overwhelming right now. And so you may have to sit with yourself and sort of look at this as being something that's, you know, reflecting a reality to you so that you can do something with it, so that you can change where you're sitting, because it feels like it's too much right now. I'm even having a hard time speaking, and it feels like you might have a hard time communicating right now because it's so overwhelming, right? Interesting. Let's see what the final outcome of this situation, potential outcome here, depending on what you choose to do. Ooh, the Chariot, and see how it's sort of coming out on its side. So it really does depend on what direction you decide to go for here, Aries. This is Cancer energy. We're seeing Libra, we're seeing Scorpio, we're seeing Capricorn, Gemini, lots of different energy, Aquarius. So, you know, you might be dealing with one of those signs, but don't get too hung up on that. We have placements everywhere. What's really interesting about this, though, is that it's showing me that it's up to you, that you have an active choice to make here, Aries, and it's a choice about whether to stay or go when it comes to a certain situation. Will you stay in a situation that is kind of creating this overwhelming emotional energy that's making you feel like you can't do something about it? Like that Star card in reverse shows me that you may be feeling like you're just not having the faith in yourself that you'll be able to do something about it. You might be feeling so disappointed, and that your hope is diminishing, that you don't expect to feel fulfillment and happiness moving forward into the future, that there's this limited belief when it comes to what's possible. And it's this situation causing it, or this relationship. And it feels like other people recognize that you're too caught up in this right now. And you might not be able to see it objectively and without bias, right? Like, and the Chariot as the outcome shows me that you have the potential to move away from this, but you have to choose that. And that choice will be up to you. Seven of Wands on the bottom of the deck, showing me that right now you might be feeling so defensive and guarded. Yeah, this situation does not seem like it serves you anymore, but I do see that Eight of Cups telling me that there is a strong emotional attachment to this. And even though it doesn't seem fulfilling right now, you're hanging on to it for a reason. So it's almost like you need to look at that and see if that reason is just a wounded expression of yourself that says, well, I don't really believe that I can achieve anything better, or I don't believe there's anything out there for me other than this. So I'm just going to push through, even though everything is telling me, like all your red lights are sort of flashing, saying this doesn't serve us. Let's have a look at this, you know? And seeing the Chariot really makes me feel like you have to make a choice about what direction you want to take. Do you want to stay stuck in a situation that doesn't serve you, or are you going to shift yourself out of this by making a choice? Let's see which oracle card you'll get to close this reading, Aries. It's the highest guidance here for Aries. Observer, yeah. Taking a look at this from a different perspective is the highest guidance, to sort of have a look at this. Really have a look at this. Like, you know, when you're standing too close to something, you can't really see what's going on. And there does feel like there's a strong emotional attachment in this situation for you that has been present for some time. So seeing the Observer card as your highest guidance makes me feel like you're being guided to look at this from a different perspective. And you may need to detach from it a little bit to see clearly what's going on, because Sometimes you just can't see the forest for the trees are in your way, right? And things are getting really unclear because of the emotional attachment. And so you're being guided to have a look at this from a different perspective that allows you to see things objectively, like the Queen of Swords would see things, right? And then to communicate from a place of wisdom, not a place of emotion. That will be the highest guidance here for you, to get some perspective and a neutral place to look at this objectively, so that you can really see what this experience is teaching you about yourself. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that, Aries. Thank you so much for joining me for this reading. I hope it's been helpful, and I look forward to reading for you again soon, my friends. Take care, and I'm sending you so much love.